At the start of the year, we went on a 3-week trip across Asia, starting at Singapore to Thailand and ending at Vietnam. It was one of the most memorable trips we've ever had. Not only did we see the most amazing places we've never been to before, but we also met the most amazing people and had some of the best experiences with them. And there actually was a main reason we were here. It was because it was on a brand trip with the Ritz Carlton Yacht Collection. Yeah, crazy.
Okay guys, we are in Singapore. Should really tell you why we're here. We're here for another Ritz Carlton Yacht Collection voyage, which we did last year. So we were so surprised and so honored and grateful that we got invited to do the Asian one. We're here in Singapore on the way to Vietnam. But we're here for a day, basically 24 hours in Singapore. And wow, look at this view. We're staying at the Ritz Carlton Millenia. And I'm just speechless. When they showed us the room when we checked in, it was gorgeous. Big, massive windows, big open room, massive bathroom. I'll show you in a bit. This amazing desk. I wish I had this desk at home. And look at the view. You've got the Marina Bay over there. What is life, guys? What is life? Bro, it's just so cool. And yeah, we're just gonna get ready, freshen up after a long flight. Bro, they also had us on Singapore Airlines business class, and it was the most comfortable flight I've ever been in, and the best food I've ever had airline-wise. It is actually unreal. So yeah, we're just gonna freshen up and then probably go walk around. Ooh, I'm gonna try the coffee one. It's casual, but still kind of like dressy-ish, just because I guess this area is a nice area. And still pretty light because it seems to be so humid outside, so I'm not trying to be sweating. Plus, I'm actually carrying a lot of camera gear. But now I'm thinking like, tripods, like frowned upon in Singapore. Trying to figure out if I bring my tripod or not, but let me ask my friends real quick.
We were actually only here for less than 24 hours because this was where the ship was embarking from, but we actually got to meet up with our good friends Mark and Mavis. They toured us around Singapore and we actually got a lot done. We went to markets, went shopping, and even went to a bar in the evening. It was honestly one of the best experiences, and I'm definitely going to be back to Singapore soon. But alas, we had to start our voyage. We've actually been on Luminara before. It was an opening voyage in Europe and we thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but here we are on an Asian voyage. Setting sail from Singapore, we ended up in Koh Samui, Thailand, where we were here for a day where we went to an elephant sanctuary. And I'm glad we went to a sanctuary where we got to learn about the elephants and help feed the elephants. And I'm also so glad there was a place where you couldn't ride the elephants. Honestly, this was really cool. I've never been so close to an elephant, let alone see one. So when they gave this as an option as one of the excursions, I had to choose this. Although we weren't here too long as we had to go back to the yacht because that same night we were sailing off to Bangkok. And I was not joking about this being the most luxurious trip we've ever been in because they had us stay at the Ritz Carlton Bangkok, which was one of the best hotels in the world, and I can see why. There's been quite a few times in this journey of mine where I had total imposter syndrome, and this trip had a few of them. After a beautiful sunset tour, we were scheduled to go on a food tour around Chinatown, but not just any ordinary food tour, it was a tour on tuk-tuks, which was a really cool way to see the city. This trip also had some of the best food we've ever had. There wasn't honestly one bit of the trip where we had some bad food because everything was a 10 out of 10. And speaking of great food, we found ourselves back in Koh Samui for a beach day. With a couple friends from the creator trip, Alyssa and Marco, we found this random restaurant which had some of the best Thai food I've ever had. And yeah, I'm probably going to be saying that a lot in this video. But look at this. I quite liked how we didn't spend too much time in all the places that we visited because it meant we got a taste of so many different things around that I know for sure I'm going to be back and even longer for. And for sure, Koh Samui is going to be one of those places. It wasn't long till we had to be back on the yacht. And before we embarked, I wanted to take this really cool shot walking across the pier. I felt like it was pretty hard to show you what it felt like being on the Luminara, because it's definitely an experience that you have to see for yourself. Even on our second time here, we were amazed and wowed by everything. The service, the food, and all the activities that you could do while on the yacht was unmatched. Everything was just top luxury, and we met some of the best people here. Oh, and a really cool thing that happened before we left was we managed to convince some of the Filipino staff to cook us a Filipino breakfast. And I'm pretty sure this is a high chance of being the first time Filipino food was ever served on the Ritz Carlton. We all disembarked in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. Me and Hannah were actually here for another 2 weeks, and some people leaving that evening or the next day, and we all happened to actually book the same hotel. And we bonded so much while staying a week in the yacht that we couldn't say our goodbyes just yet. So we all actually managed to get lunch or dinner with a couple people before people started saying their goodbyes and going back home. This was one of the best groups I've ever traveled with, and I'm sure we'd all see each other soon. Me and Hannah always want to go to Vietnam, so when we found out the voyage ended there, it was the perfect excuse to spend 2 weeks here. Our plan was to stay 2 days in Ho Chi Minh and then spend another 5 days in Hoi An and then come back to Ho Chi Minh for another 4 days before going home. We stayed at the Vinpearl 81. It was the tallest building in Saigon, and honestly the views here every morning and evening was insane. And speaking of views, Vietnam has got to be one of my most favorite places to visit. We would walk around side streets, main roads, and get lost, and honestly everywhere just looked amazing. I felt like I could just pick up a camera and shoot anything and everything. There was just so many colors around, so many things that the whole city felt vibrant and lived in. We must have visited so many beautiful coffee shops, and every coffee shop had its own speciality, and everything from the drinks to the food in those places were gorgeous. Honestly, Vietnam has got to be one of my favorite countries. We spent the next 5 days in Hoi An. We stayed pretty close to the old town of Hoi An at the Hotel Royal. I highly recommend this place as the place is immaculate and extravagant. At the same time, it was very close to where everything else was. We spent so much time just walking around, going to streets I've never been to, going back to the hotel, just refreshing up, and then going back. Hoi An was my favorite part of this trip. It just felt like a place that didn't want you to rush. It let you take everything in at a slower pace. Even though there's so much to do, it still never felt overwhelming or forced you to do too many things. And I quite like the times when me and Han would just chill at a coffee shop and sit there for an hour or two. On one of the days, we decided to rent bikes, which the hotel provided, and just bike around the city. We found this really cute cafe amongst the rice fields, and we basically just spent half the day there before going back to town. We never actually did it ourselves, but I quite liked just watching the people on the taxi bikes, being driven around town by the locals. It actually seemed pretty fun, and probably when we go back, I'd do that myself. Because yeah, we'd probably go even more at a slower pace next time. The markets here are incredible. There's so much going on and so much things to see and buy, and you can even get a lot of stuff custom made. I know Hannah got a couple shoes and bags made. I was trying to get a custom suit done, but I just couldn't really find a specific design I liked to my head, so I'm definitely going to be back here. Not only for the shopping, but again, purely for the food. Now, I've already quite liked Vietnamese food back in London because I feel like we have some of the best chefs there. But dude, I was mistaken. The Vietnamese food in Vietnam is even better, and actually it's overtaken quite a lot of cuisines as my favorite. On one of the mornings, we went over to the nearby city Da Nang. This is actually where most people stay and only take a day trip to Hoi An. Now, we didn't actually stay too long there because we couldn't really find much to do there because we already kind of had the city vibes from Ho Chi Minh. So we actually went back to Hoi An and booked ourselves a cooking class, which also included going on one of these boats. Boats were actually pretty famous for going a bit crazy with the spinning. And I'm not gonna lie, watching this footage back right now is making me dizzy. This cooking class was actually the first time we've booked an activity like this while traveling. We've always thought about doing something like this, but never really pulled the trigger. But since we had so much time to do this while out here, we finally got to try it, and honestly, it was one of the best experiences ever. I definitely recommend looking for cultural classes or tours online when going traveling, because it honestly just adds another layer of unique experiences to your trips. And it's probably something that we're going to do more often. Before you know it though, we were back in Ho Chi Minh. We were here for another 3 days before flying back, and it was a chance to basically take Vietnam in even more before we leave. That meant going to more cafes we wanted to visit, having more food, more shopping, which actually is a great way for you to explore the city. We'd find ourselves visiting a district we never would have went to if it weren't for a coffee shop or a streetwear store. And even if you're not really into like coffee or shopping for clothes, visiting the place is worth it on its own. I don't know, it feels like everyone in Vietnam is really good at set design. Like, is everyone just an interior designer there? Because the places have the most unique designs and the most insane concepts. Like, I feel like the whole of Vietnam is basically an art exhibition. I'm not gonna lie, if I used all of the footage and pictures that I shot during this trip, this would probably be a 2-hour long video. By the time we reached our final days in Vietnam, we felt like we've explored everything. Yet at the same time, there's still so much more that we could see. Like, if previously we found a favorite food spot, there was just another place similar to it serving the same food, but just as good, if not better. I don't know, I felt like everywhere you go was a 10 out of 10. Like on the final night, we went to the Bun Vien walking street, which was like a strip full of like bars and crazy adult stuff. But at the end of the street, we found this place where a lot of people were just having pho. Unlike the rest of the trip, it wasn't a place which we saw on a brochure or Instagram or TikTok videos or an internet blog. It was just a place where we saw a lot of locals eating and thought, why not? And I'm not even exaggerating again, this was the best pho we've had. Like, I was so close to just getting seconds. Honestly, it was the perfect end to the 3-week long trip. And honestly, this trip couldn't have gotten any better.